Welcome to the Post Float Podcast.
I'm going home. Thought this podcast was cool. You sure you got on Doom Lagoon? Yeah, that's right. I got Pure Brown on like that.
Cool. And we're rolling.
Hey.
Cool.
What's up, Luke? Welcome back from the void, man.
Yeah. Could you actually maybe pull the microphone a little closer?
And
if you just drag it all over.
Yeah, you can just manhandle it.
It's all good. There we go. That's better. Thank you. All right, we are back.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Post Float Podcast, episode
10.
Jesus, 10.
Double
Man.
digits.
Look at that. We're becoming veterans at the podcasting.
It's Veterans Day.
Yes. Speaking of, happy Veterans Day. Thank you, everybody. Also, ironically, I was just talking about this before the podcast. I'm having my very first Jocko tea experience on a very, representative day, I guess. So, yeah, it's good. I like it. It's the pomegranate tea.
Oh, man, it'll kick you in the face.
It's nummy. As long as it's not Jocko kicking me in the face, I'm cool.
Oh, man, it's pretty rad.
Just
I like
his tea. He seems like a beast. Thank you, all you veterans. That's awesome. And we're here doing a podcast, saying whatever basically we want to say. The only people that are going to get mad at us are our own cohorts and not the government or anything like that. So we really appreciate the freedom, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's awesome.
That being said, we just exited the float tank, and we have... I know, right? Was that so? Yeah, just to fill everybody in here, this is Luke Day. Luke is just started working with Lost and Float as an independent contractor as one of our yoga instructors, basically this month. Yeah.
Hold on just a sec here. Gone. So now we're on. Now we're on. 100%.
I'm happy to be included, guys.
Yeah.
You're here.
Yeah.
Thank God nobody heard what he said like 2 minutes ago.
Oh, yeah. Man, glad that wasn't on.
Dodge that bullet.
It got weird.
For real.
So, I think Luke said hi, hello, some things like that.
You saw me wave, probably.
Yeah, that's right.
Do we got video going?
We got video
videos
going.
on. Cool. Yeah.
So again, this is Luke, and he is a yoga instructor. We just put him through his very first sensory deprivation experience.
Yes.
We've been out of the tank for probably about 10, 15 minutes now. And so the first question usually is, man, how do you feel?
How was your float?
Yeah.
Feel excellent, actually. Like, it was surprisingly hard to meditate in there at first. And I'm used to being able to kind of tune out the noise because of all the yoga meditation that I include in my classes, and that's a big part of what I teach.
Okay.
But in that just darkness where you're just floating, I found my mind just searching for my body.
Okay.
All the time there, at least in the beginning. I was
Okay.
like, what is happening? Where am I? And then it just kind of got to the point where I was fully physically relaxed. And then my mind was able to just kind of, like, for lack of a better word, just float.
So it's almost like your mind kind of, no matter what, represents you with your body to an extent.
Right. And that's like a lot of what yoga's about too, is bringing your mind and your body to the
that's a
same
good point.
spot.
Yep.
Because we spend a lot of our time thinking like lists and future ideation, stuff we got to do, or like criticisms, or like anxiety of past ideation. So a lot of what I teach is trying to use like breathing and your mental focus while you're moving your body to just bring yourself to the same spot, like focus on what you're doing exactly right now.
Attention to the practice of yoga in that moment.
Exactly, yeah. And that's like pretty much a okay definition of mindfulness.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
Like the idea of be here now, right?
Yeah. Right.
Exactly.
So in the float tank, you're technically not doing anything.
Right.
And so do you think that's where it was, the nuance was for you, the subtlety? You're like, wait, where am I at? What's going on?
so.
Why am I not just in my place?
Right. Why am I not like in the mental
Right.
realm,
'Cause
which
you-
is usually like after the yoga class, you're all physically relaxed
Right.
so that you can go into that shavasana like meditation easier.
Yeah.
And then with this one, I found myself like just thinking about my extremities and where I was in the like empty space there.
Right.
And I even like found my fingers or like toes. I thought that they were touching something or touching the edge of the tank.
Yeah.
And then I'd like wiggle them or move them just to check, and there's nothing there. Yeah. So I was like,
It's
what?
very, very common. Yeah.
Sweet
experience.
That's cool.
It is cool. Sorry, that's an inside joke. It is cool.
It is cool.
There's this fucking awesome show on Amazon Prime called The Patriot. Yeah.
I think it's just Patriot.
Okay.
But yeah,
Damn
yeah.
it. So I Mel Gibson it again.
Yeah. Mel Gibson is
Patriot.
The Patriot.
Oh, God.
So Mel is the Patriot, and this guy is just Patriot. But anyway, it's the internal reference to that movie.
Yeah.
By the way, if you haven't watched that show, who's the director on that?
Just
forgot
Conrad. Steve Conrad, is that
Yeah,
right?
well, whoever he is, he's incredible.
Yeah.
His writing, his producing, his directing is incredible.
Yeah, he did it all.
But to come back to what Luke was saying, I find it interesting that a lot of people don't come out of the tank and say this. They were just laying on liquid. You were being supported by a liquid,
Yeah.
you know, a phase of liquid, no solidity.
Mm-hmm.
And I always amazes me how more people are like, oh yeah, I was just floating in a glass of water.
Pretty much.
Right.
Like just a big, bowl of soup. And
Yeah.
it was completely supporting you, and it's nothing solid,
I
whatever.
was like a
no
Cheerio.
mattress. You were a Cheerio, man.
The one Cheerio left in the bowl.
And you got to think that's probably the first time you've ever experienced that.
Pretty much.
Even just that sensation, unless you've
Yeah.
been to the Dead Sea or anything like that, unless floaties don't count. It has to be a density of a liquid substance to be able to have that effect on your body.
So I was focused on that. I was focused on like the floating aspect of
Yeah,
it for what
okay,
seemed
cool.
like a really long time.
Yeah. And just, because you're like, wait, why, how, what? And then it's just an interesting place that you don't get to experience very often.
Mm-hmm.
So I always tell people the first float is usually like kind of, I think what you're going to continue to divulge about is like you spend a considerable amount of your first float just, what? Okay, wow, this is kind of cool, or this is happening, or where's my body, or what's that, or why am I thinking this, or how, this is so different than what I'm used to. And so I want to follow that up with what eventually did you find your bearings, I guess, or just kind of find your place of peace?
Yeah, like eventually you can only focus on your body, I suppose, for so long when you're in that kind of condition.
Right.
So eventually that just kind of like melted away.
Okay.
And it was when my neck started to like get a little bit tight and it seemed like it wasn't being supported.
Yeah.
And then I was eventually able to just mentally relax around those areas of tension that I had.
Nice.
And then just sink into it. And then the
Nice.
body just kind of disappeared.
Yep.
And I was all upstairs just trying to either pay attention to whatever thoughts came to mind or trying to let those slide by and find that aspect of no thought.
Nice, man. And so do you feel pretty peaceful and relaxed right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. It's pretty awesome. I think that's really cool too, because a lot of what consciousness is just making something significant or not. And
Yeah.
so your body, you can choose for it to be significant or not. And the fact that you couldn't feel it, you decided, oh, that's a significant thing. And then eventually it wasn't. So whether you consciously decided or non-consciously decided, you made it insignificant, which means the thought just isn't there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I actually thought of you in the float tank as I made something significant insignificant, and it was an itch on my eye.
Yes.
And I was just like, oh man, I hope he doesn't get one of those
Oh, I had that
itches
too.
on his eyes.
No.
And it's just
Because there's nothing you can do about it.
I know, right? Because what am I going to do? I'm going to like get my hand and then rub my
Right.
eye, and then I'm going
Salt
to have
right in your
more
eye.
of
Yeah.
that like drippy feeling. So eventually, like it was just what you said, where you have that irritation and that like, oh, my focus, my entire consciousness is around this little tickle in my eyebrow.
Yep.
And then eventually you just kind of let that drop away.
Yep.
Which I think is a big thing around the pain
Oh,
aspect of
100%.
it too. Because when, like, it's an animal response, we don't really have a whole lot of control over it. When you're in pain, your whole mind goes to that pain, right?
Yeah.
And then you attach to that pain mentally. So even if your body like fixes that pain later down the road, you still have those mental pathways created. So you're more likely to feel that pain, even if it's not as bad as it seems in your mind. So when you can realize you're thinking about that pain and then stop attaching to it quite as much, then you can just relax your mind around that aspect of pain and then just kind of like feel better.
Man, that kind of sounds like that phantom limb phenomenon. You know what I mean? Like, I actually talked to a dude and I hooked him up with a float to come try it out because he had been missing a leg for most of his life. Like, he was an amputee, and he was telling me about the phantom pains that he'll have.
For real.
And he was just like, yeah, man, floating sounds like, I love water and I love like when I float. And so I was like, I want to come try it out at your place and see what it sounds. So hopefully he'll come in soon so I can talk to him about
That'd be
what that,
cool.
because yeah, man, if he could disassociate that
Yeah.
mind, you know, I don't know, man, that's a pretty crazy thing. Like, it's not there, but you feel it. He was telling me about it. It's just like, it feels like it's right there right now. Like, it feels like I'm standing on it right now. That's insane.
That's bizarre, because usually if the feeling's not being represented physically and you stop and try to look at it, it's not there.
Oh, yeah.
You know? And that's what, like, even when Luke was just saying now, like, I always think about pain as potentially being what you're saying, but I'm always really interested in the fact that obviously you're dealing with the pain right now. Just, I mean, you're handling it.
Yeah.
You know, this pain is bearable because you are boring the pain. And is it the future fear of more pain that is more what you're thinking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Ooh.
And so that's what the leg interests me, because, I mean, maybe it's, like, obviously it's got to be a pretty, I don't know, substantial thing to happen in your life, to lose a limb or et cetera, or anything like that. Is it still just some lingering anxiety of the fact that you're just not used to it and you're afraid of the future of it, but it's already there. There's nothing you can do about it. So it's almost, I'm not saying this is what he's doing, but is there this weird lingering, like, is this going to get worse?
Yeah.
Does it get worse from here?
Right.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I can only imagine.
You know? Yeah. Because when I had a cut on my finger and it was in the tank.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was just sitting there thinking about it, and I was like, man, this, it definitely stings. And I was like, well, it's, and I've had those moments, but I just like thinking about, so there's definitely a difference between external circumstances and just the mechanistic reasons that we're supposed to feel it, of course. Nerve endings, etc., signaling just to your brain so that you don't touch a hot stove and burn yourself, right? The pleasure, pain, anything else, just safety, evolving, surviving.
Yeah, flight or fight.
Versus what's internal. But even from the external representation that there's obviously salt hitting thing and my brain's getting these signals and then it's telling me, hey, this is pain, you need to remove yourself from this environment, there's still some superpower in there. I haven't gotten good enough with mindfulness. Like, anything internal, I've got a pretty cool superpower. I can talk about that. That's what I was thinking about in the tank a lot. But still, some of that stuff, like pain, like actual physical pain that's taking place on a biological level, there is definitely a practice to be had, a superpower to probably be built upon, where it's not like you won't feel that pain, but then you can be conscious of that pain, understanding what is it the fear of this future pain, even though I'm handling it right now, so I don't really need to be afraid of it, I guess. So what is it? What's creating my focus to be on this pain? Is it the sensation itself, or because you almost feel like you need to do something about it, but you're not doing something about it 5 minutes ago.
Yeah,
You've
exactly.
already bore it. You are boring it as you're thinking of it.
It's
but
like
you're
an attachment.
worried. Yeah,
right?
You're
so
worried
you're
about it.
attaching to that pain and
future
that
pain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, I've hurt myself here.
Yep.
And that sucks.
Yep.
But it's like, I didn't really feel that bad when I wasn't thinking about it
Exactly.
a few minutes ago.
No, 100%.
And now that I am, like, my brain and my consciousness is all wrapped around that pain. But then it can drift away, and then you're back to where you were. So there's something to be said for, like, having, I don't know if control is the right word, but like some sort of acknowledgement of where your thoughts are going so that you can bring them back to what you want them to be.
That's 100% what mindfulness is, right? So, not to steal this, but that's what I spent most of my float thinking about from other people's perspective.
Sweet.
So I'll move it just internally, though, because obviously, and not to bring up all the nuances and subtleties of the appropriate way to utilize this or not to utilize that. Obviously, that's a discussion that should be had. But in and of itself, you do develop this superpower. Sorry, this mic is all in the weirdest spot for me. But you really can. The more you practice mindfulness, and today I decided to do that with my float. I literally meditated for an hour. And I can go into a float tank and not do that. But today I did it. I just decided to fully focus on mindfulness. But there is this substantial thing where you develop this skill, this power, where you can have basically your own internal label maker, and whatever, not from an external circumstance like pain, but internal circumstance that jumps into you, like you said a minute ago, well, this wasn't bothering me a minute ago, now it's bothering me. Absolutely, because you just decided in that moment to make it significant.
Yeah.
So that also means that if you do enough mindfulness, which doesn't take long to get this one, you can decide if that is significant or not in that moment. You can internally take this thought that made you have a feeling, might raise your cortisol, whatever, and all of a sudden you kind of realize, oh shit, I need to do this thing, or this important, or they're going to think this about me. Well, guess what? 5 minutes ago, it didn't bother you. It was insignificant. You might not have consciously chose it to be insignificant, but now that you've consciously chose it to be significant, or unconsciously, you can choose to whip out your label maker and make it insignificant if you want, and it's literally insignificant and gone.
Oh yeah.
That's crazy. And that's one of the very first things that you start to develop with meditation and mindfulness is like this little label maker that you can carry around that has a yes and a no button. And is it significant? Yes. Is it significant? No. And like I said, you can decide the appropriate way to utilize that, is all predicated on your own value system and what you're avoiding or not avoiding, but you still have that superpower. And so in the tank, like I even had a moment, like, oh my God, I forgot about this thing. And I'm like, this is so cool. I'm like right in the midst of my doing my meditation. I'm like, so it does. You have the physical, like, whoa, this is a big deal. And I'm like, no, it's not. Because it wasn't 30 seconds ago. It wasn't 2 seconds ago. It wasn't a moment ago. And now it is. And guess what? I have the superpower now, and it's not anymore. Because all I had to do, and all the superpower takes, and you guys will probably understand this, and maybe people don't meditate a lot, all I had to do was go and try to look at it. Mm-hmm. Gone.
Yep.
It's gone.
That's what I did with that itch on my eyebrow. Busted out that label maker. It was like, insignificant.
Yeah.
And then not scratch.
And the physical ones are so much different, right? Because there is actually a physical thing taking place. Like if there was a bug walking on your body, good luck just making it snap and disappear. But the cool thing is those internal ones, you can do instantaneously. Like it's one of the very first skills you garnish. You put it on stuff, I guess. But
Garner, yeah, there you go.
Through meditation. It's so cool. You can decide that, oh my God, I had this thought of when I was, dating this girl or whatever, and I was such an asshole. Man, guess what? It's insignificant.
Yeah.
Literally.
As significant as you choose it to be in that moment.
You choose what to give meaning to. Mm-hmm. And the only thing that mindfulness is, and I know we've been harping on mindfulness for a couple podcasts, but is the ability to focus.
Yeah, no, totally. Because it seems like a weird concept, right? Mm-hmm. Like, what even is the definition of mindfulness, right?
Right. It is. It's hard to describe.
It is really hard to describe.
I have a hard time describing anything, but
just focusing on what you're doing right now is pretty much it.
I mean, just being able to check in and be consciously aware. That's it. And then a lot of people think too, like I remember when I first started meditating years and years ago, and you listen to some of those old apps where it'd be like, now this thought comes in, now just drift it away. And I'm like, that's cool, I guess, but it doesn't mean that you can't have thoughts.
Yeah.
You could do whatever you want, and you could judge that thought if you wanted to. It doesn't have to be judgment free or don't analyze it. You can do anything. It's just knowing that you're doing it. Mm-hmm. It's just that to me anyway.
So, it's a sense of awareness,
that's
really.
It, 100%. And the more you practice that focus and that awareness and that ability to just, I am this space right now. You always are, but we're just reacting most of the time.
Yeah.
You wield this awesome control, this awesome power. And
it's so hard to put into words.
It is, man, but it's not. It's very easy to give somebody the visceral reaction. Give them fucking 5 days. 5 days if you just take 10 minutes and get a good, like the waking up app.
Sam Harris meditation.
That's
this podcast brought to you by Sam Harris meditation.
If I say profound, I get shit. Every time you say Sam Harris, yes.
You gotta do some burpees.
You got me all geeked out on Sam Harris, so I just ordered his book. Good. I started doing his app. Yeah, he's really awesome. Good. He's an intellect, and so he's taking the time to break down these things very clearly and concisely, and he's able to do that. So he can wield the verbal jargon necessary
from the neuroscientist perspective. Yes, ours is from the yogis and
ours is from the
guys.
What happened, dude?
Experts in nothing over here.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, anyway, that's all it is. And so that's why I was really curious, because I know you had stated that you do like meditating a lot. You obviously utilize mindfulness in your yoga practice, which is just a different environment. Right. But, and you get things, good things out of all of them. The thing I love about the float tank the most for me, and what I was going to just ask about you, is what's cool is I can go in there, and again, I can choose not to meditate in a float tank. If you're listening to this, you don't have to fucking meditate in a float tank. Do I think it's the most important skill you can ever get in your entire life? Yes. But I also I'm in an environment though where physically I'm also taking care of my body without even trying.
Yeah.
No muscle tension, no nothing. Circulatory system is on rapid fire. It's just doing everything it needs to do while I'm meditating. It's like this win-win scenario where I get the best of both worlds.
Oh, yeah.
And I love that.
Dude, it's great.
So, yeah,
I found myself like listening to my heartbeat for a while.
Yeah.
Cause like, and then that would disappear.
Yeah.
So that was a cool thing, is that I would start to focus on my body and like those little sensations, because I was still trying to find where my body is in the space. And in yoga, like,
you're very aware.
Yeah, very aware. And that's kind of the easy part sometimes of meditation in a yoga class, is that people can turn off their brains and then just move.
Focus on the movement,
to the
yep.
sound of whatever the next instruction is. Whereas here, there's no physical sensation. So I found my brain looking for that physical sensation.
You're used to it.
For a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you had to challenge your different perspective.
It would bounce back and forth. So like I'd get to the point where I'd be super relaxed and then calm, and then everything would drift away. And then like a few seconds later, my heartbeat would be so loud. And I'd be like, wait, it wasn't loud a second ago. So then I'd turn it back off slowly.
Yeah.
And then just get back into that dead zone area. And then I'd find myself coming back to the body and thinking about those little things. And then that's when like my mind would start to go like really active. And then I would calm myself back down again. So it's kind of like a cycle.
It's definitely, I agree with the cyclical ability that you can have in a float tank, whereas, because there are no distractions.
Yeah.
Normally in life, you always have a fucking escape button, like an escape pod that you can push, right? Unless you're strapped in on a 6-hour shroom trip or something, you can always escape to some extent. I mean, even if you're on a psychedelic, if you're versed enough, I guess you can just force yourself to fall asleep. There's always something.
Right.
But that's about all you can do in a tank. Fall asleep or get out.
Yeah.
And so there is no phone. There's nothing.
Oh,
and
man.
so you are going to have these cyclical things where you're like, okay, the cool thing, you're not strapped in. You can exit the ride anytime, right? That's what I always tell people too. They're like, well, what do I do if my mind goes somewhere else? I'm like, you're not fucking taking acid, man.
Yeah, you
just turn the light on. Yeah. Get out,
like,
take a
stand
shower,
up, bro.
come back in. Like this is basically once you produce these skills, it could be a psychedelic adventure that you can decide to turn on and off. Still, you want to give up that control. It's still the same idea.
Yeah.
Like if you try to control the ride on a psychedelic trip, that is the definition of a bad trip, man.
Right. Oh, man.
I don't know. I remember
Just float with it, man.
Yeah, surrender.
And then unfortunately, if you have a chemical substance that you've decided to float with, just surrender, boys and girls. There's no controlling that.
Yeah.
That's the biggest piece of advice I could give.
Dude, yeah, I almost got out of the float tank one day because my heart was pounding so loud. I thought somebody was hammering outside the door. And I was just like, who is out there? I'm trying to float, man. And I was like, wait a second.
That's me.
That's me. Like, what am I doing? It's like, okay.
That is crazy because you don't always experience that. Again, and you're in the same environment. Like I've had a drip fall from the ceiling before, maybe, and it's like. Then I've had it drip off, and it's like a water drop. Mm-hmm. You know,
yeah,
or like the sensation is when it hit me in the stomach one time. It was just like this just giant, ball of water just fell on me, but it was just a little drip from the ceiling.
Yeah.
And then other times it'll drip, and I'm like, it's just a drip, and I'm what is the difference, man? Yeah, what's going on in there? So anyway, overall, what do you think, man? Would you float again?
Oh yeah, I can't wait. Honestly, that was super awesome.
It's awesome, and then because you can now wield I know what I can take with me, and I know what I can do. But beforehand, until you have an experience, you don't know.
Yeah, and it was kind of like a challenging meditation at first because
Yeah.
I did the same thing. I was trying to meditate during the float, and then it just wasn't coming.
It's because it's not your normal mode of apparatus or whatever.
Yeah, the cool part is you generally don't have to go through all that again because your brain registers the environment as a safe space. So when you
Yes.
come back, your brain goes, "Oh, hey, we've been here before. It's cool."
That seems,
yeah, when-
that seems to be it.
When my brain hit that safe space zone, that's
Yeah.
when I just kind of like melted physically and mentally and was just like
Yeah, man.
just with my surroundings.
Because then it
I
becomes like a
was-
muscle memory. Like your brain, like, the first bicep curl is pretty tough, but by, the second time you come to do it, it's like, oh, we've done this before. And it just becomes like a muscle memory. Like your relaxed,
Right.
letting go muscle gets real strong.
Or like runners too. Like there's this thing called the wall.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the bonk.
Yeah, where you just once you get to that wall, like you feel like you physically can't do anything more. But humans, we evolved to like chase after stuff until it fell down dead because we were stronger and faster. Well,
And
not
hungry.
even faster. No, yeah, we
Yeah,
weren't
we
even
were
faster.
hungry.
We
Not
were just-
stronger, faster. We could
we
just,
would just tire them
endure.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can endure
Endure.
that. We're
Yeah.
long distance runners.
So you can push through that wall.
If you can mentally get to that point and then break through that wall, then you can just keep on going, and you don't even feel it anymore. You don't feel that like tension or that physical pain or that mental like stop doing this
Right.
immediately, and then you just keep doing it.
And
Yeah.
you'll feel it again. You develop a tolerance.
Yeah.
And that's what passion, I think in Latin, passion is literally to suffer and to endure.
Hmm.
That's what it means. And it's beautiful because that is passion.
That's sick.
David
You know?
Goggins calls it callousing the
Yeah,
mind.
callousing the mind.
Gotta get a callus, like when you're shoveling, you get the
But
callus
the-
on your hand. Then it gets tougher. It's like same thing with your mind.
And the only
man.
thing is, though, you have to put your hand in these situations that actually push it beyond what it's comfortable with, so
Right.
that it can like the mind can callous itself. If you seek comfort and everything else, then yeah, you lose out on some of those opportunities. And a float tank, I think, is really good for it too, because who the fuck spends an hour with themselves?
Right?
And that's nothing.
With nothing else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nothing, man. Everyone's like, oh yeah, I get a lot of me time. Like, no, you play video
You're on your
games,
phone
you
looking
watch
down.
movies, and that's great, man. It really is. But like I was saying before, with garnering a skill like the label maker, if you want the ability to escape, that's your best fucking friend, man, is that label maker.
Yeah.
And the only way you get that is if you do some mindfulness practice and you meditate, because let's be honest, that's the heroine of life, though, is what we do too, is when we go watch a movie or play a video game, we're escaping.
Yeah.
We're escaping those anxieties and those, because all of a sudden, guess what? Nothing matters. Like, you're not worried about your job or this or that because you're into this game.
Yeah, you're focused on the next.
You're
little thing
focused
doing.
on that. But you can't always distract yourself.
Yeah.
So why not you learn the skill? That's it, man. Just learn the skill. It's for me personally been, and I'm terrible at it. I'm like, fucking me, it takes everything to get good at, but just like anything else, at least I'm doing it. And just as bad as I am at it in my current situation in my life for the last few years of practice, it still has just had the biggest impact on my life than anything ever.
Yeah.
It's the best tool I've ever had.
Oh, same here, man.
Ever.
Oh, dude.
It's the knife that I need on my belt wherever I go. And, the better I get at sharpening it and everything else, and the more I learn about different blades or metal or even a sharper knife or a particular knife for this situation versus that situation, you start to you get those. You get that ability. And you don't have to plug into a video game and just pretend that life isn't happening around you. Life can simultaneously be happening around you, and you internally still don't have to, check into it the same way.
Yeah.
It could be as like, even with meditation now, I love to sometimes just have my kids run around. I don't need to have, some people have to have that quiet room. Like, I can't meditate, my kids are home. Like, that's great, man. Listen to them, because that is consciousness just allowing in this thing. You're hearing it, and you just look at it. And then if they stop talking, try to rehear them talking. It's not there anymore. I love that. I love that stuff, man.
It's like before you know it, you're having a conversation with yourself. The conversation's
look at
been
that.
long gone, and you're still just Dude, I call it the Yosemite Sam. You know what I mean? Because dude, oh man,
Sounds like that dude off Home Alone kind of too.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god, right?
Oh, I did. I stubbed my toe this weekend, and I was just so pissed about it. I was just like, and then it was just like later on, and I was still like, just like, oh, it wasn't my toe, it was my knee. I was trying to rush into the Jeep, and I was just like, we're driving down the road, and I'm still just like,
Still mad about it.
Peter in it, Peter Griffin in it, like just like, oh. Becky's like, oh, is that hurt? And I'm just like, no.
No, I'm just mad.
Yeah, exactly. And I was holding on to it.
Did I run your knee over before I got in here, you big pussy?
It's like,
Jesus, man.
And that's the thing. It's like, I wanted to share my pain. You know what I mean? You don't have to make the damn noise. I didn't have to sit there and go, it
becomes
transactional. Yeah. It's like, now I'm sharing that pain with you, and you're bearing this burden with me. Like, it doesn't need to be that way.
It doesn't have to be.
I got to the point where I was like, oh, damn, that's what I'm doing. I need to shut up. Like,
I do that shit all the time, man. Like, share my pain a little bit, or I'm not going to be the best version of myself. Let me tell you why before, you think I suck. Here, let me just set this up. This is why I'm not going to be as cool as I could be.
Oh, man, I was definitely doing that. But the cool thing is like, I've been meditating all the time. I've been practicing this mindfulness, and I caught myself, and she helped catch myself by saying, that must hurt, huh? And I'm just like, oh, okay, yeah, that's what I'm doing. I need to.
That must be the worst pain ever.
It's like, yeah, don't share this pain. It's like, she didn't hurt her knee. She doesn't need to hear my pain. Like, I can internalize this and get over it already.
I like that acknowledgement that you had, because you could also turn it the other way and be like, well, dude, I mean, what's more really, what's better than sharing your existence with somebody else? That's awesome too. That's what I was really trying to do. But no, dude, you were just trying to share your misery.
Oh, dude, my thoughts were going crazy.
Feel
I was just
bad
like, we
for
need a
me.
bigger Jeep. We need all of it.
That's great.
Just let it go, man.
People that have the ability to get those little, things you can step on before they get in the Jeep, fuck them. I'm oppressed. This is bullshit.
Yeah, they should give one of those to everyone.
Yeah,
let it go.
What kind of Jeep dealer doesn't just put that on every Jeep, man?
All these things were coming to me, and I was just like, oh yeah, I'm doing this to myself. I'm dragging this out. That moment of hitting my knee has now been 5 miles.
I wish that example was so easy and like, I mean, we all experience it every day, but when you're like butthurt or whatever, if you stop and look at your butthurtness, you're not butthurt anymore. You're like, oh yeah, I'm just keeping myself butthurt.
Yep.
That's what I was saying. Like the conversation kept the like.
But that's an easy one to admit to, right?
Yeah.
The harder ones to admit to is like basically when you're being a little bitch.
Oh yeah.
All of us.
Oh yeah.
Like, yeah, all the time. Like, man, so you guys are just going to go without me. I guess that's cool or whatever. And then,
Right.
Fucking 2 days later, it's like, and then you're like, oh, wait, this is me.
You're talking to yourself, man.
Literally
Oh,
talking
this is
to
why
yourself.
people don't like me.
It's like I just dragged this on.
It's 100% that, and that's that label maker. Once you have that awareness, it didn't have to take 2 days. You could have had that awareness in 2 seconds. I don't know why it's 32, but that's a good number. Add one more, and it's
30
June's favorite
fucking
number.
two. Yeah.
2 seconds plus 1. 33. So, but that's where that labor maker comes out, and you can just be like, oh, I guess I don't want to feel like that anymore. And why was I doing it? Oh, because it was transactional. Because I wanted somebody else to then, i.e., feel bad for me. So there was like a bargaining chip there.
Yeah.
And that's not being an adult.
Oh yeah.
That's the self-awareness and the pragmatism. That's being an adult. The other thing was, you were in a transaction-based thing. You wanted somebody to care about you. That's a transaction. Period. You wanted them to want to care about you.
Not unconditional love. That's
Precisely.
conditional love.
Yeah, it's like the boyfriend and girlfriend stuff when you're in high school and you're like, trust is the most important thing. Let me just make sure she's not doing anything crazy when I'm not around. That's not trust. What is that?
Right.
Hey man, was she talking to so and so? Like, dude, so trust is obviously not your most important thing. No, you have a bargaining thing going right now, and this is completely transactional. Is what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. And we've fucking beat that dead horse a few times, but
Let it be, man.
yeah, it'd be so. This podcast gonna suck one day. We're all just gonna sit here and be like, cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
It is cool.
It's like you just get to watch us be chill instead of hearing us talk about being chill.
Yeah, so we almost got to force talking shit. So on the last podcast, we talked about the zipper. Remember they were talking about the merging zipper and the Journal Star. So I tested out this weekend on 84th Street. There was one of those arrows coming up.
Oh, yeah.
Immediately, we're a good half mile out. All of a sudden, everyone's like slamming on the brakes, trying to get in that left-hand lane so they don't have to be that asshole that's in the merge side. And I was like, fuck this. I'm like, let me over, man. I want to get into the merge side and practice the zipper. So yeah, I went up there. Gita's like, everyone's gonna think you're asshole. I'm like, only in my consciousness, honey. I was like, I'm doing this zipper. And it was super nice out Saturday. We were headed out to like Arbor Farms, which by the way, that place is sweet. And so yeah, I'm the only one who did it, but I'm like pulling in. I was like, zipper, like screaming out the window. Yeah, dude. So yeah, Gita's like, they're gonna think you're an asshole. I was like, yeah, but is that gonna force me not to do something? You know,
right.
Then that's a bargaining thing again. I'm worried about this person's gonna think about me externally. Like, I know I'm trying to do the right thing. I'm not trying to be a dick. I just got done reading this newspaper article that this is 40% more efficient for less bottlenecks and traffic efficiency. Let's do it.
Right.
Let's zipper this shit.
So fly is down. Zip it up.
So yeah, I practiced the zipper this weekend. It worked out fantastically.
Nice.
And the person behind me that let me in did not hate me at all, I don't think.
At least if they did, it doesn't matter.
It also helps that you're in Nebraska.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
people will just be chill with that stuff.
Yeah,
It's true.
they'll get over it.
Yeah, in Seattle, they got that mutual Mortal Kombat law or whatever, so they might be like, we are fighting now.
Yes.
Meet me in the
Like,
parking
shit.
lot.
Zero
man.
tolerance for zippers.
Yeah, but then again, in that moment, I could decide, no, I'm just going to leave because that sounds like a terrible idea.
Yeah, we're not doing that. I'm not fighting you.
So yeah, the zipper took place. I also told myself we were going to learn how to actually talk to a guest on this podcast. So
Okay.
we got to do that too.
Is that?
Yeah, we had my buddy on here last week, and we just ended up literally shooting the shit like we always do the whole time, like we're doing now. So we were gonna get better to it, like kind of setting it up and following to having a guest come in here. Tell us about your experience. So we started this whole thing out. Luke is one of the independent contractors, one of the new yoga instructors here at Lost and Float, which Jesse and I both went and did one
That
of your
yoga
classes.
class was dope, by
Friday
the
was
way.
awesome,
Thank you,
man.
guys.
Power yoga.
Thank you.
Fridays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fridays and
And
Mondays.
Mondays.
5:30.
And
Shameless plug.
Also, yes, make it shameless, man. So, Luke, how long ago did you just decide you were going to kind of? Because it sounds like you had a full-time job, but you were huge into yoga. So, two questions: A, what got you into yoga? Why did you want to be a yoga instructor? That side of it, but also it sounds like this is also an entrepreneurial thing. Like this is becoming your art, your creativity, maybe where you're starting to venture into the independent contracting world. Obviously,
Right.
at Lost and Float here. Where do you want all this to go, man? What are you doing? Why are you doing it?
Well, I super hate having a boss.
Yeah. Jesse,
Tell me about
Jesse
it.
can attest.
Jesse was telling me about it.
Yeah, exactly. That's a cool. It's all right. Fuck you guys.
No, man. I mean, I got into yoga same way a lot of people did with those like home workout videos.
Yeah.
And one of them's like the yoga type video. So I just really like the different style of movement
Okay.
and like just how crazy exhausted I was after some of the super hard yoga classes. 'Cause I didn't think you could really get that big of a workout in like 2 foot by 6
That's
foot
everybody's
area.
misconception too about yoga.
Right.
And so elaborate on that, man. Yoga could kind of be the spectrum of, yeah, you can go in there and some people think it's too hard, right?
Right.
And you can show them a picture of Shavasana, I guess. And then some people are like, this is fucking too easy. So explain the other side, because everybody has this misconception about, well, I really like to work out and everything too, so I don't have time to work out and do yoga. Can you do both?
Oh yeah, you can do it at the same
Right.
time. Like it just depends on what class you want to do. And I would argue too that people who think that yoga is too easy just haven't actually recognized those physical activations that you need to do in each individual pose.
Right.
So it's always a spectrum of learning.
Okay.
Like I've been teaching for 5 years and there's still things that I'm just like, oh yeah, I need to roll my shoulder back just a little bit here. Or
Yeah.
like I need to move just a little bit more to feel the full sensation of this pose. And it's basically just a mental game, kind of like the floating is.
Right. Like anything is, if you break it down.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the reason to even go and work out? I
Right,
mean,
it's 'cause
obviously
you get
there's
the
a
endorphins
vanity reason,
from-
things like that. But if
From
you're
working out, and usually it's because you feel good afterwards.
it's
right?
it's having functional control over your body, your predicament on this earth, and being able to do things.
Yeah.
And so that's obviously what yoga gives you.
Right.
in a way more skillful and functionally sound way, I guess.
And yeah, I think that you learn about parts of your body that you had no idea that you had.
Right.
When you start to do yoga, because if you are used to working your muscles in a certain way with weights or something like that, sure, you can be a really good bodybuilder type person and like
we
know
should
the different
note that if you want to go
things.
be a bodybuilder, you need to go bodybuild for sure. Yeah.
But also, like, if you don't want to have super strong muscles and really weak connective tissue, then, or like really tight connective tissue,
Right.
then you also want to bring in some sort of mindful stretching aspect. Because people who work out and stretch, they've done studies that stretching by itself doesn't actually do a whole lot,
Right.
because you have to have a mental
It's a neuromuscular response,
activation.
basically, right?
Yeah, like a conscious recognition of what you are stretching. So
I've heard it as kind of like a pain tolerance in a way. I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
they're still studying exactly what are the fundamentals of flexibility. We know now things that we thought it used to be. Certain people you grew up, your muscles are lengthening, maybe temporarily, but you're not actually getting longer muscles. I mean, that wouldn't make any sense if this bone hooks up to this bone, and all of a sudden you got this muscle that's twice as long. I mean,
No, it doesn't. No, exactly. You're creating an elasticity.
yeah. Yeah, and a mental, like you're talking about the neuromuscular response or just neural response in general, I guess, is there is a pain tolerance into it. I was a gymnast for 15 years, and you start to learn things. If your body goes into a way that it doesn't feel comfortable with, it's going to tell you that might be fucking unsafe, and what that's going to represent is pain. So you just go jump into the splits right now, it's going to fucking hurt.
Yeah.
And that's because you don't want to get hurt. Your brain doesn't want you to get hurt. So once you, like you were just saying, you learn this skill of movement and everything else, your brain's going to let you go to different lengths.
Yes.
So there's the mental side to it and also the physical side of it, like you said, like lengthening, stretching, everything.
Oh yeah, I'd definitely be becoming more aware of parts of my body I didn't know, like hamstrings, hips. What the hell are these things? I don't know, man.
I was going to say, it's probably what brings most people to yoga. Right? I mean, it's what brought me to yoga. For sure, doing a lot of planar movements. Like after athletics and stuff was gone, you don't know what to do, and there's girls and they like things, and you try to look a certain way, and there's this masculinity thing, and so you go and you just do these very one plane motions over and over again, and next thing you know, your fucking shoulders hurt or your back hurts really bad, or these things like they don't work right.
You've done the same repetitive motion without actually realizing that you're only working like one side of the muscle that you were thinking about and like one little aspect, whereas like you really should be working all around the whole body and getting the different parts of those different muscles, because there's stretches in yoga where we're like stretching the hamstrings, right? And then we do like a little twist, and then all of a sudden you're stretching like the outside of that same hamstring, and it feels way different.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's
those little cues like you were given too, it's a big deal because you need that visceral response to understand something. When somebody says, just go stretch this, you always ask yourself, am I doing this right? You never quite know. You going potty? But I think it's super key important. So you were doing like a workout program that had yoga associated with it, and so basically once you started doing some of this yoga, you realized how difficult it could be. But what skills did you start to garner? Like, oh yeah, this is what I want to focus more on primarily.
Yeah, there's a lot of the mental aspect too, because like you've got the physical elasticity in your muscles and in your ligaments and tendons and everything.
Yeah.
But then there's also the mental elasticity that comes along with it, and
Like
that
the breath
really
work, et cetera.
helps to get you past the plateaus.
Okay.
Because what I always talk about is kind of related to the floating.
Okay.
Is you reach an edge in your stretch, especially in like hip stretches tend to be pretty intense for dudes who are not used to stretching their hips at all. Yeah.
Dude, my wrestling coach used to be like, use your hips, Butterfield, use your hips. How you going to ever get with a girl? You got to use your hips. I don't know what the hell.
What are my hips?
Did you point to them?
There's
And we
so
all
many-
know, like Chubbs, said it's all in the hips. And it is,
all
man.
in
You
the
do
hips.
learn that, especially in your mid 30s to your 40s, etc. Like,
It took a while.
I'm assuming you're going to elaborate on.
Right.
But the hips are really a big deal.
because you hit, and there's so many different interactions in your hips, because there's so many different connective tissues that go to so many different areas of your spine and your hips and your pelvis. So there can just be one of those things that is holding you up. And so it's sitting in that stretch, thinking about where you are in that stretch. And then lots of people want to run away.
Okay.
In their minds. They want to shift, fidget, do something to make it more comfortable or to change whatever that sensation is.
Okay.
When you should just be sitting in that sensation.
In that sensation.
And accepting that it's not pain.
Right.
It's discomfort.
Right.
Yeah.
There's
Ah,
a
I
big
like that.
difference between those two things. Pain is localized and hot and sharp, and it's there to tell you that you're
Right.
doing something you should not be doing.
Right. You're going to notice if it feels wrong, it's probably wrong.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we have a hard time distinguishing between
good point.
pain and discomfort
Okay.
in our minds. So oftentimes if there's something that's hard that we're doing that we
So
don't
how do
wanna
you tell somebody that? Like you're like, okay, if it feels sketchy, it's probably sketchy. So how do you give them that distinguishing framework then?
I usually talk about how localized it is.
Okay.
So
okay. So the heat from inflammation, localization being the sketchy, like.
yeah, like pain is sharp. It is
Yeah.
like it's knife-like.
Okay.
It's
Those are good ones.
right. It's hot.
Yeah.
It's something that you just feel like shouldn't be happening.
Okay.
Like I've got a spot in my hamstring, probably from a tear or something like
Right.
that occasionally when I get in a stretch,
feel
it'll
it.
feel really hot and very localized and very sharp. And that's where I completely stop.
Yep.
I don't want to tear anything or press anything past what my body can do.
Okay.
But in the
Everything else?
hips are, unless you have like a bionic hip or something, or
Yeah.
like something that's really locking you up, hips are really resilient
Okay.
and they can stretch more than what you think they can. So if you can get past some of that mental discomfort that you have wrapped around there, I've had those times where I'm focusing on the sensation in my hip, realizing there's no sharp pain or anything, just like these knots,
Mm-hmm.
like this knot of just tightness.
Like resistance, like you,
Yeah,
okay.
like I'm gripping onto that spot while I'm trying to stretch, and then all of a sudden, brain relaxes, mind relaxes, that spot vanishes, and then like I get 2 more inches down to
Deeper,
the ground.
yeah.
It's
And that's a lot of the big push behind it. Is it panorama? Is that the breathing? What's the breathing?
pranayama. Yeah,
Pranayama. So it's a big thing with breathing too, because that's a neuromuscular response too. Like when you're exhaling, your brain is letting go a lot more. Like I always tell people too, when they're doing mobility, they'll like be rolling out and they're like, I'm like, look, man, if you making that face, you think your brain thinks it's a good idea. It's not. Smile. I know it's weird. Like you even did that in your class on Friday at one time.
yeah,
You said
yeah.
smile, and I was like, I love it when people do that. Like
Yep.
when you're in a really shitty spot, and it, like, oh, I just
Core
want to just
exercises, bro.
You smile, and you're like, oh my god, it's not as bad, and you're in the exact same position, kind of like you're saying. Your brain kind of like, okay, we're cool.
Oh man, going from that pigeon pose to the quad stretch. That's the spot, man. When you just smile.
that was brutal.
Is that where the smile? I think I remember
Smile on
the
the
smile.
outside.
So you must have done it twice. I remember when we were doing some abs too. We were all just sitting there, and you're like, go ahead and smile. And I was like, I love it when people do that, man.
That one. Oh man, I felt like just a turtle on its back, just like, oh my god.
Yes, I love wailing on people's cores and
Yeah.
then just seeing their faces
That's
all
so
scrunched
important.
up, and then you're like, just smile, man. You'll be able to do it
You'll
like
get
a
through this.
little bit longer.
But yeah, just like with mental practices and everything else, and yoga, and everything you're doing is to have a better life, to be happier, to be more content. Like we've preached on that a lot, but a lot of things too with just physical exercise. We know exercise is important, so you want to stress yourself for once, so you become more resilient to the stress. You want to have this neuromuscular response, and also knowing why you're doing something I think is so key. So that's what I've noticed. One of these distinguishing factors between people who are like, yeah, I do yoga or whatever. Like, no, man, I'm not in that fucking weird shit. No, what are you doing, dude? I go to the gym and I do real things. But if you ever ask them, so why are you doing it? Why you go to the gym?
Right.
Like, what is the end goal, man? A lot of people don't do anything with understanding what are you doing it for, because that's the meaning. And then everything that builds off that meaning is the purpose for doing it. So if you don't have meaning or purpose, you're kind of floating. And so maybe you stop yourself and, I don't know why I keep going back to the high school version of myself, or to be perfectly relevant and honest, maybe until I was like almost 30 version of myself. But I always want to challenge myself to like get the girl, man. So a lot of things I did, if I would have stopped and thought about that time, was like, oh, well, that's because I'm given this meaning. So everything else was a purpose for this meaning, which is a terrible fucking meaning to have in life, right? Like this challenge. But so is that could be a gym reason. Like, why are you going to the gym? Why are you doing this? So, curls for the girls. So but what I'm saying is I think a lot of males, obviously younger males, that is the main reason a lot of people work out. And to, build confidence, do things like that. I feel like you can handle yourself. But if that's the case, then you want to have functionality over your meat vehicle. Basically, like this thing, man.
Because I want my meat vehicle to still be working okay when I'm 100.
What's the point?
Bingo.
I know, right? Otherwise, just
I'd love
tap
to.
out.
Like, we had that argument one day. You're like, I don't want to live till 900. I was like, okay, so you're 899 years old right now. You feel the way you do right now. You want next year to be your last year? And you're like, well, no. Because you fucking feel fine.
Yeah.
You feel good.
Right.
Everyone who says, I don't want to be 130, is because you don't want to feel like shit.
Yeah, it's like, I don't want to feel 130.
But there are
I just want to feel 30.
But that number for you is a number that's totally different for somebody else.
Exactly.
Somebody could be 65 right now, and their meat vehicle is falling apart.
They feel like
didn't,
shit.
They didn't take care of themselves.
Right.
And what drives me more nuts, and I'm assuming as a yoga instructor, it probably drives you nuts, or maybe it's just because we're new to yoga and so we don't have a big push of yoga yet, but how many people then have figured this out? They've got enough life experience. They're intelligent enough through this life experience to be like, okay, I've been doing this a little wrong. I need to do something different. But I'm not going to go because I don't want to be the old fat bald guy in the back.
No, we've got that. Like, I have every type of person in my gym yoga classes that you could think of.
Yeah.
Almost every time somebody comes in who's never done yoga before.
Yep.
And then they have varying abilities of doing it. And sometimes people who've never done it before, like, they don't have a good awareness over their body, and it just takes practice.
And it makes sense. Why would you, right?
But other people, they come in and they do have really great.
Right.
Great.
So they're going to come in with some of that confidence, makes them easier to get through the door. But for the people who haven't come through the door, or listen to this maybe, and like, yeah, I know this is something I need to do. I get it. But okay, one day. What's the push to just make that day tomorrow? Like, what do you think you're going to get out of this so immediately? Everything else is like, look, you're going to have this juxtaposition in X amount of time. I don't know, a month, maybe 2 months. Start tomorrow. You know what I mean? Start taking control of your functional awareness mentally and physically tomorrow, and why.
It's kind of like with everything, right? The more you keep it in that ideation phase of just thinking about doing something, the more like you're distancing yourself temporarily from like actually doing what you're thinking of.
Right.
So it's kind of back to that mindfulness thing. Like, you can think that you need to do this and then have those thoughts of, oh, I don't know if I can really do it. And all of those things that might keep you from starting. Really, the important thing is to just take the first step, because like, it doesn't matter what any of that other stuff is. That's just noise. Right? That's just an expectation for a reality that might not even exist. So what you should do is just take that first step and then come to class.
So it's basically harder to think about doing something than to just do it.
I agree.
It really is. It's a way worse problem than just fucking think about it.
It's like
all the stress associated with that and the guilt and all this other crap than just doing it.
I'm going to take out the trash tomorrow.
Right. Just do it now.
I'm going to take out the trash tomorrow. I'm going to take out the trash. Before you know it, you're living in a house full of trash and your body's trashed. And, it's like yoga is like taking out the trash.
That is
a
really good point.
Floating
man.
is like taking out the trash for your mind and your body. And it's like, if you keep putting it off till tomorrow, you're going to be living in a house of trash.
But what's the number one excuse you hear most of the time? Is
the trash doesn't come to pick it up till tomorrow.
Not a very resolute like this is the reason, but it's that I'm going to get to it once I get something else done. There's always something else that needs to be done first. Well, guess what, motherfucker? That's going to be there tomorrow and the next day, and it's going to create a new thing that has to be done. You're never going to be caught up.
Never going to be.
Ever. It drives me nuts. Never.
You just have to chill.
None of you. Nobody.
I know.
You will never get to this. Okay, I'm at that spot. What am I going to do now? Got everything else done. I'm going to sit here. I got these other things I've wanted to work on for years, and I can finally start living my life.
Yeah, it's like if you don't take it from life won't give it to you.
It's not.
You have to take it.
It's literally everything that you're waiting for to be done is just going to basically reproduce something else that you're going to have to do. It's shit begets shit. Period.
And
I think stops.
People think that when you do something, you've got to do like the whole thing.
Right.
And I'm a perfectionist, right? So like
progress.
Yeah, it doesn't. You don't have to do the whole thing.
We harp over that.
Just get one more thing done.
Yep.
Just do the next thing.
Yep.
Yeah, your incremental progress is better than perfection.
And
Absolutely,
that gives you
100%.
it is.
I was thinking about that the other
fuck
day.
perfection, right? You just gave away your whole meaning.
Yeah.
So if you do this incremental progress, like you guys saying, what you did is you just maybe, hopefully consciously, you become aware of this through everything we're talking about. Fucking float, do mindfulness, do some yoga, work
Yoga,
out.
float.
Get on my
Jesus,
soapbox,
come on, man.
goddammit.
Drink this tea from Jocko Willink. Happy Veterans Day, motherfuckers. But really,
by
just
nobody.
quit being a bitch is what it is. Like internally, there's nobody that can lie to themselves. You can lie to us, you can lie to everybody else, but you can't lie to yourself. So whatever distraction you're doing to try to get those little lies through, they melt away, and then you got to refill it. Just don't refill it next time.
Yeah.
Next time you're standing in front of the mirror, fucking own up to it. It's okay. It's great, because guess what? Unless you already have some type of purpose and meaning in life, which I just am assuming that a lot of people, that's a big problem with society now, is that's kind of suffers. Like, especially now that society is more secular and everything else, which me personally, I'm pretty secular. I am secular. And so I like that, but that's a slippery fucking slope.
No, I
man.
agree.
And it just like what Nietzsche said and everything else is like, you killed God, man, deal with the aftermath. And then here came science in to kind of, fill that void a little bit.
But there's got to be something else. Like
You
from a
have to have
purpose
meaning in life and
standpoint,
purpose
or
in life.
else like things like you're
You
saying slip
will
into
grab
entropy.
on.
Yeah, so if
you've got to
achieve perfection, then what?
Exactly. Don't catch that fucking carrot in front of your face,
Right.
man. And so what my whole point is, until you can always search for the meaning and stuff like that. And I'm not going to tell you what that needs to be, but you're always going to try to find something consciously or subconsciously. And more likely it's going to be some non-conscious thing where basically you're just doing a tribal freaking experiment on yourself. They're into this. I'm going to be this. You just took on a meaning, and everything you do is purpose to fulfill that meaning. So just be really fucking careful.
be mindful of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because be mindful.
right.
Of it.
Like one of the biggest impactful quotes that I've experienced is, we were born too late to explore the world and too early to explore the stars.
Yeah.
So what we have to explore is like the human mind.
human mind.
The inner space versus outer space.
Yeah.
Which is technically all of space.
Right? Yeah. It's
I
still
mean,
infinite space, infinite inner space.
anything that's significant to go into your consciousness is be labeled as good or bad. That's
Yeah, and
everything.
And to kind of come back to what you were saying about like being aware and mindful of why you do things, like you're saying, why do you work out? For the
Right.
girls for the girls. Well,
Why do you drink?
Eventually, to get drunk.
you had to do it.
Eventually,
So I have something to work up.
right? Eventually, you're gonna like come to a place where it's like that's not meaningful to you anymore.
Exactly.
And
you can only
like,
ride that train so far.
and so it's like one, guaranteed, like, I don't want to tell people what to, put, for
Right.
their meaning, but peace, finding your peace, your inner peace is a good one. Like, you're going to have carrots hanging in front of you. We talked about that before, where you have to strive for that thing, because if you catch the carrot, that's perfection. And then what?
Right.
So it's like, if you're going to hang a carrot in front of you, consciously hang the one of achieving peace and what gives you that inner peace. And so if like you're working out, it's for peace,
Right.
to have your inner peace, like mentally, physically, if you're going to meditate, it's for peace, for, it's like all that.
So it's
like,
kind of, people could see a contradiction inside of that, obviously, be like, wait, so you're going to desire for peace, but I get exactly what you're saying.
yeah.
Like, choose what you're willing to desire for these certain things and put in the suffrage and everything else. But, everything else, all the other bullshit, just be at peace with, continue to desire for this one thing.
Yeah, I'm willing to suffer for peace.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, I probably said it like a dumbass, but it's basically, I'm trying to.
I think everybody
So
gets
it's
it.
a hard
I'll get on a
concept.
soapbox, man.
Yeah,
Do it for peace.
It's a real
Do
hard
it for
concept to
peace,
explain, because like you can be at peace with the struggle that you're doing, right? Because those are two different things. Like you're
Yeah.
struggling, but you can
Here,
and
bring
then
this
you can
microphone
either
up, Luke.
you can
Here.
right. You can be struggling and you can struggle upstairs in your mind about that struggle, or you can like do your struggle, do your grind,
Yeah.
and then be at peace that that's an aspect of
100%.
something you have to do.
Right.
Pigeon pose, man. That's
Exactly,
I'm
right?
struggling for that.
I
for
am
that peace.
struggling. Get me out of here.
I think-
at peace, but like this is where, because I know for me, like my hips suck, and that like the pigeon pose really opens me up, and so when I'm doing that, it's like, this is what I need, this is what I want, this is where I need to get, and so I'm struggling through it, but I'm at peace, like because I'm just like breathing, I'm doing the the panoramic breathing.
I breathe around this whole thing, man.
With all my garnishes.
You think you follow your breath in the float tank?
Garnishing
Mine's
my mind with panoramic breathing.
I'm gonna write my own dictionary one day.
Yes.
I'd read it.
But I agree with you. Like, but the thing is, man, it's weird because we say, you know, try to achieve peace, do these other things. I think really you should have an overarching desire to suffer for, and going to yoga and pushing yourself in these poses and pushing yourself mentally and getting out of just the ideations and actually doing the fucking work. That's the suffrage that you get good at that. Accept
Something
that grind.
worth
Just do
suffering
that.
for.
It's just all the other bullshit. Use your awareness and everything else and your attention, your focus to just be at peace with all that, because it doesn't fucking matter. And do less better. Just do fucking less better. So and you can't do any of this without first and foremost being aware while you're doing it. Why are you doing it, man?
Yeah.
What is the fucking reason you're doing anything?
Yeah.
And a lot of us, it's easy. You have a family or you have loved ones or whatever it is, but a lot of people just they don't. There's this like existential angst that's just always like tapping on the fucking door of their consciousness, and it just wants in, man. It wants in. They're like, please don't come in, please don't come in. And it feels so bad when you come in. You're not my best friend. It sucks. You never want to leave. And it's who
mindless
wants
desire.
to feel that way. But existential angst is a real thing, and we avoid it, and we'll try to do things to avoid it. But it seems to be, we've met enough people and we know enough people and we've done it ourselves where it just doesn't have to be avoiding existential angst or, you know, being nihilistic. It can be like you have all these tools and all this freedom and all this ability and all these powers that you can garner through practice and skill, where you don't even have that anymore. You've given yourself meaning.
You create your own.
You create your
that's
own
my
meaning.
my
And
big
you're gonna
thing.
do it anyway.
Yeah,
Is that
right.
if anything,
right.
if it all is meaningless anyway,
That's
who
almost
fucking
meaning.
knows? But it doesn't matter.
You're still
going
going to create your own meaning,
Right.
in that meaninglessness.
Exactly.
Even being a nihilist is your meaning.
Right.
Like just saying it doesn't, it's just fruitless, man, and humans are the problem and everything else. You just created your own fucking religion, dude.
Right.
It's all the same shit. So just be aware of that.
Yeah, so it's like, yeah, because that's tricky. Because if like,
It is.
because you're gonna do it anyway. So if you're not aware of it, you're doing it.
You're gonna do it anyway.
So you might as well be
right?
aware of what it is the meaning you're creating.
Well, if you're gonna
Yeah.
do it anyway, just make the aftermath, make it your life better and other people's lives better.
yeah, and you can make other people's lives better by
Just taking care of your
taking
fucking
care of
self.
yourself,
Yes.
man.
Yeah, that one I couldn't harp on enough. And I know a lot of us, and kudos to you, want to go change the world, make the world a better place and everything else. And I'm assuming even being like a yoga instructor, that's a big purpose of yours, man.
Yeah.
But you know you couldn't do this because unless the best way you're going to fix somebody else is by taking care of yourself. And it sounds like that's something you did, man. You're doing some workout thing. You ran into this yoga thing. You're like, man, I'm going to be awesome at this. And that just segued into you then that you can benefit other people with that. But it wasn't like,
Exactly.
I'm going to go give this to the world.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this is
And-
an inner struggle so
Yeah,
that I can
right.
like share that with.
By
Like,
raising
yeah.
yourself, you can raise other people. If you don't raise yourself, just leave me. Just stay away from me. Get the fuck away from me. I don't want to hear like how you can make my life better. I don't.
For $5.99 a month, I can make
Unless
your
you
life
did it.
so
This
much
seminar.
better.
Like if you're gonna tell me how to clean my life up, I want to come look at your life. And if I see any clutter or anything else, I'm like, why are you telling me how to do it to my life, man? Like you clean up your life, I'll clean up my life. And if we all do that, it sounds selfish. It's gonna benefit everybody.
Yeah.
And then we can have more of these conversations on a more of a communal or almost a global aspect. Instead of like being a victim and having these problems and feeding that hurt knee inside the Jeep, just giving it fuel. You don't have to do it.
It hurts so bad.
Hey, it still hurts, man. But it was so bad. Becky even called me. She's like, "Is there something I should do?" Like, I think he's in a lot of pain.
Yeah, man. To me, it just sounded like she was really insensitive to your,
Yeah, I agree.
like, your deep pain.
Let's get on team that. Like, we could just do a whole podcast where we pretend that, like, you know what? I agree, man. That was bullshit. And you know what? If she would have been of the male,
We're pro knees here.
she has all that female privilege and everything else to treat you like shit and make you feel bad. What is all this
Let's
stuff?
not even
It gets
talk about
weird.
the privilege of the Jeep. Too,
Yeah,
right?
the Jeep, man. You
The
know?
Jeep manufacturer is against tall people.
And the fact that they made that Jeep just to make a profit.
Yeah.
And didn't even
Off
think
of
about
my
your
knee pain.
Right? They didn't even think about it once.
And now
how does
that
that make you feel?
They knew you were somebody who's going to hit
Hurts
their
even
knee.
more now.
And then you know what I learned after you told me about that knee pain? Because I was like, what can I do to help Jesse? Because I felt so bad for you. There's fucking running boards, but guess what? You have to pay for those.
I know.
What?
Yeah, they don't even install them for you, but they make them.
It's like the seat doesn't go back far enough.
God, dude.
No, yeah, that's what I
God
mean.
bless America.
But see, it's so easy to just make that your life.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
you could get on Team Fuck Jeep and pour Jesse's knee, and we're gonna do everything else to change the world so nobody ever has knee pain again.
Or Jesse could just get over it.
Yeah, or knee pain's just a part of life, man.
Yeah,
some
exactly.
days
That's
your
what I'm
knee's
saying.
gonna hurt, man. It is. Some days are gonna suck. You're gonna wake up and you're gonna be like, I feel like shit today.
Oh.
That's just a part of life.
Another
Grind it
day.
out.
It's another day, and there's a beauty in that.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's another day.
Yeah, and you might feel like shit tomorrow too, man. But at least you're aware of the fact that you're alive, and you can choose to kind of have that demeanor.
Oh,
or not.
dude, the gratitude
Yeah.
practice is so good. Like when you're frustrated and you're just think of something you're grateful for. I've been doing that, like where I'm
Yeah.
just like, my knee. Okay, wait,
Yeah,
I'm so glad that I'm going to see my family, and I'm glad that I'm with my company. I'm in good company, and
That it's not
grateful
a
that I have a Jeep to get there.
It's not a phantom knee pain.
Ah,
you
dang
actually
it, you
have
stole
a
my
pain.
joke,
I was
man.
waiting.
I was like, he's going to say it. Can I beat him? No.
Yeah, I just talked to a guy the other day. His knee hurts and ain't even there.
Right? Yeah, it's like, oh man,
So be fucking grateful, man.
I'm very
Yeah.
grateful for this knee pain right now.
Yeah. And then you can have
100%.
that pain so that you can have a better awareness of not pain.
Of
Yeah.
my
later, too.
of
You
my
know,
body and
of
movement,
happiness,
like,
of-
being more agile and sliding into that Jeep seat just smoother. Like, yeah, dude, like there's so much to be grateful for.
There is.
Ah, man.
I'm grateful just the fact that we get to sit here and shoot the shit, and
That's
Luke
really
got
cool.
a float today, and you also just taught me a ton of things just talking about yoga, man. Like that, I'm actually going to take into my next class, and some of the mobility that I'm going to work on today. I've got a workout I'm going to do some mobility, and I'm going to kind of use some of your couple of the little mental cues you were talking about there while I'm doing it.
Smile.
Just thinking about that. Not, like you were just talking about, like just being aware of that sensation and then how you want to react to that sensation and get away from it. But really, what is that sensation? And then
Yes.
all of a sudden, if
Yeah.
that sensation removes itself, well, I'm no longer mentally bringing up that sensation. So maybe my brain is now loosening up those muscles, or whatever muscle tension might be stuck there. It might actually be letting me slip a little bit deeper, and just thinking about things like that. So I'm excited to do that in my
Sweet.
workout today.
Yeah, man, bring in the point of like separating pain and discomfort.
I like that.
Huge, man.
That's a really, really big deal, because nobody wants to be in fucking pain.
Yeah.
We are scared of pain for all the right reasons.
Yes, but
Pain's-
discomfort is
yeah.
a sign of growth.
Yeah.
Ooh,
There you go.
love it.
Yeah, I like that too. So if you were going to talk anybody into, like I said, I hear it all the time. We hear it all the time. There's so many people walk through this door that want to do yoga, and we haven't seen, 90% of them come in and do yoga.
Right.
Like, where should people start? Does it matter?
Just step into class.
Any class, right?
Doesn't matter. Any class, anywhere.
If you're a good yoga instructor,
doesn't matter whether it's me or anyone else. Just come to a class and then see what that was. And maybe you have a bad experience, but at least come to a second class.
Yeah. I
'Cause
was
you
just
can-
talking about that with floating too.
You can judge something off of your first experience with it, but maybe it was a fluke. Maybe you had somebody who wasn't on their A game teaching, or maybe you were too much in your head to really kind of feel where your body was. So just try it a second time.
And nothing's a magic pill. And we harp on that on here
Yes.
all the fucking time. You're not
Exactly.
going to go to one yoga class and have this spatial orientation we're talking about, this functional fitness ability. You're not going to have this mental acuteness of distinguishing pain from discomfort. You're not going to. You're looking for a fucking way out. You're looking
Yeah.
for a little pill that does all the work for you. That discomfort and everything else has to be earned. Like you have to earn these skills and everything else to be able to distinguish do things. So, sorry, I did go off on this, but you got to earn it.
Yeah.
Do the work.
Yeah,
Put
yoga
in the
isn't
work.
a magic pill. You don't
Nothing's
do
a magic pill.
You don't do one bicep curl for the
Except for
girls.
maybe Viagra or something.
You do, yeah, it takes a bunch of curls.
Yeah, it does.
And
And
so
learn.
so
Be
yoga is like, it's just like working out or meditation. It's a practice.
Be honest. And what do you think? So you obviously are in the yoga world. You've been an actual instructor for 5 years. And the biggest thing that kept me away from yoga, just being an idiot, seriously, man, I spent so much of my life just being blind. But I never stopped to look at it, but I think if I would have at that time, the biggest thing was just the stigma that it's this yoga thing and these yoga people and there's this culture, and I didn't look at it as the physical practice, the mental awareness. I didn't see that.
Okay.
I just saw it
that.
as, this other thing.
Big problem.
Just
to
like
be honest.
people think about meatheads with guys like that would have been me in the gym where I'm like, actually, I do love this. I do
Right.
like to go push around weight. I love it. But like, fucking meatheads, I don't want to go do that. It's like, it's always an excuse, but I had
It's a
one towards yoga.
preconception.
Preconception, yeah.
And
So what do you think
mean,
is
it
the
is an
preconception?
issue. Like there is a culture of yoga that keeps people from doing yoga.
But that's not
and
yoga, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, that is a westernized, commoditized version of yoga.
Yeah.
And even the yoga that we do, it still has some of that legacy to it.
Yeah.
Because it's not like the same cultural and spiritual practice that it is where it originated.
Right, for sure.
So it's a mixture of like calisthenics plus these other things, but the point of it is to just like stretch and find out your body and just like get stronger and do something that you didn't think you can do
Right.
and learn. That's my thing is I'm always learning. I've
Yeah.
been doing this for a really long time and I'm still in the same spot that I was years ago. Like my hamstrings feel like they're never going to open up.
Right.
But
And they might not.
They might not.
Genetically, they just might be what they are.
It's always a learning practice of what can I do to really experience this next pose or try a pose that I haven't been able to do. And
So what keeps you going being a yoga instructor? What is the thing that fuels you where you're like, oh, okay, it's kind of, maybe I'm getting mundane. Obviously, you will focus on Luke. Like you're obviously very good at taking that personal responsibility, but being the instructor for other people, you probably had moments like, do I want to keep doing this? Is it that you see other people making strides? What
yeah,
would it be? Yeah.
it's breakthroughs.
Yeah.
Like when you have a whole lot of really small shifts, then they all lead up to a bigger breakthrough.
Like a culmination point of like,
so like you realize that you have these muscles on the side of your abdominals that you can engage and squeeze together. And then once you figured that out, like all of a sudden you're upside down and you're on your hands and you're doing some sort of arm balance that you're like, wow, I can't believe that I thought that was so hard.
so the fact that you kind of help somebody progress to one of those aha moments is kind of like,
That's a big thing for
Yeah.
me. Yeah, is getting somebody else to have that feeling
Right.
of, what? That's freaking awesome. I
Right.
have to actually do that. That's what keeps me teaching.
Right on.
that's what I've always wanted. I've always thought it'd be cool to be a coach specifically for reasons like that. Whereas, unfortunately, I think a lot of personal trainers just get the people who might just be showing up to the gym and they don't have that overall, why am I doing this all the time? It's just because they're supposed to do it. And I always feel bad for some personal trainers because think a lot of times the clientele just don't show up or aren't. They're like, basically what I always hear is, why am I not losing weight? Is that why you're working out? Is that just to lower that scale? Is that the overarching theme of why you're doing this? Or is it that fucking aha moment? Like you said, like you just understood your body in a way, in a spatial realm that you were integrated mind to body to move this certain way and you got this skill.
Yeah.
That's pretty fucking incredible.
Dude.
Yes.
When I found out what my hips were, it was huge.
Yeah, right. Even things like that. Like just
this
look-
last Friday,
looking it
when
up.
Took my hip popped in the
Yes,
class,
at
dude.
Power
Like,
Yoga.
It was so cool. I was just like, oh man, I needed that so bad. Like, but yeah, man, just doing yoga and finding the, learning about this meat vehicle, man, it is a lot of fun, and it is like just growth,
yeah.
like learning and growth.
That is it.
I mean, what else are you gonna do with this life? You know what I mean? Like learn, grow. Like that's the point. Picard said so.
Yeah, just the passion of curiosity. Fuck that scale. That scale drives me nuts. Even my wife would do that a lot.
There's
It's
no
like,
magic number.
She get on the scale every day. I'm like, that thing ain't gonna just change. Like, even then you start learning about the catabolic and anabolic natures of your biology. It's like, well, think about what you're doing. Get off that fucking scale. Unless that scale is gonna show you how much more badass you're getting.
Right.
Yeah, because that's the measure I care about, man. And again, if you're looking in the mirror, you already know that.
Yeah.
Nobody else is going to tell you. No scale is going to tell you that. It is nice, too, to, make a coach proud and things like that. I love that feeling, too. Of like, hey, man, you did fucking work, and somebody's going to let you know you did work. But you know when that's genuine, and you know when somebody's bullshitting you. Mm-hmm. But don't come to yoga just to lose weight. Definitely, make that an awesome byproduct. Be healthier, feel more vital, all that stuff. But come because you are on this fucking planet for a very short amount of time and life is ephemeral and what's the damn point if you don't take advantage of it? You know, like come in and do these things and get involved with it. Do a month is what I always tell. I always tell people, do 60 days of anything, whatever it is, especially from an exercise standpoint. I have so many friends that have went in and tried a million times and we're almost 40 years old and they're still doing it. Or they'll go do something for a week. And I'm like, talk to me in 60 days. Until you've done something for 2 months, I don't even care.
Oh, yeah.
Unless you're going to tell me, yeah, it was really cool. I'd love to hear about it. I'm not being a dick. Don't talk to me. But 60 days, and then come tell me it's not for you. 60 days.
Yeah, and then I'll believe you.
Yeah, and then I will believe you. You say, well, it's because of this or that or that. Like, there's probably some representation in fact there. It might not be fully true. You probably were just waiting for 60 days to maybe quit. It's potential, or it just isn't for you. It's not your thing. It didn't bring you anything.
Yeah, and that's really it. Like, you do it so that you can have that feeling,
right?
So that
you do anything
you can feel
so you
more
have that
badass about your body, so that you can like notice a part that you didn't have.
And I love you just said you 2 times in that, and that's in those sentences when you were articulating that. It wasn't so other people notice how more badass you were coming. So other people saw this new skill that you garnered. You saw it.
100%. Who cares about that other
you.
shit? That's right.
100%.
And I notice sometimes some people doing their yoga practice like almost competitively.
Yeah. I mean, and that's okay,
like,
but for sure.
As long as you're focused on yourself and what you are doing, as opposed to being like better or whatever than the people next to you, then that's what it's about. Is just I did something new. I am proud that I have this aspect of my body that I can do.
And celebrate that moment. Now get back to fucking work.
Right. Yeah.
I felt bad in Friday's class too because I didn't do more stuff that I could do because I'm always worried that people are worried about that. And that's almost like the opposite, right? But when you were like, go ahead and work on some stuff you want to work on. I had some things I want to work on, but I just didn't want to do it because it's like nobody likes a fucking show off and stuff either. But I was a goddamn gymnast for a large portion of my life, man. But I wanted to play on some things. I was like, I'm not going to do this crap.
Yeah, you should.
Do it.
But you know why, obviously. It was dumb. It's terrible. I have no excuse. But I'm so worried about everybody not doing things because they're so worried about how because they are who the world sees them as. Right? You're not who you see you as. You are a reflection of other people's observations of you. And that is unfortunate, but we live that way. And so the last thing I want to do is think that you can handle not doing that. Like, that's the number one thing I think we're overcoming as a society is through social media and everything else, is podcasts, anything. Like every podcast I have to struggle with it and talk to myself like, be who you are and not who other people observe you to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Because then who the fuck are you, man?
Right.
And guess what? I'm not who I was 30 seconds ago already, and I won't be like 30 seconds from now.
And all the cells in your body are probably only about 7 years old. So
yeah, right. That's very true. There's some in there that stick around forever, which is a cool Radio Lab episode about that. Yeah. But yeah, my point is like, I noticed myself doing that too. And I was almost disappointed in myself, but at the same time, it's the same thing. I don't feel free to go even above and beyond. And it's okay to have certain talents that you think might rub some people wrong, because that's where this weird team mentality gets to about like these weird privileges that apparently some people have, which drive me crazy too. Or the fact that you're not good enough or you're too good. So now you can't even be too good. Now you need to be less good. And just anything, just got to remove it all and just focus on personal responsibility and doing your work for you and stop the everybody else thing. Yeah. But don't get me wrong, be cool to everybody. Don't be an asshole.
Right.
Right. Like actually be a good human being. But that's easy. Most of us can just do that.
And like, I feel like people who tend to be assholes are like way more focused on other people.
For sure. They're insecure.
Than they are about themselves.
Have you ever met a bully that just wasn't insecure?
Right.
I have.
Justin Wren was talking about that. The Fight for the Forgotten.
Oh, dude, I love that guy.
Yeah, he was talking because he has that anti-bullying like nonprofit, and he talks about how like their phrase that they started using is "hurt people, hurt people."
Hurt people, hurt people, hurt people, hurt people.
Yeah, so it's like the bully is hurting.
Yeah, and he's trying to garner some type of control or power over his own life by doing that. But again, what we're saying is you can do all that internally, man. Yeah. But you're so used to being hurt. Like, yeah, most bullies are bullied. Like at home, they have a parent or environment or whatever that makes them feel horrible and powerless. And then they find a little instance where they kind of feel like, oh, I have a little power here or
They
whatever.
can exert their control.
Yeah, because they're so insecure that then they can't just stop reaping on that what they think is a benefit in that moment.
It's an illusion of control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just have to let go.
But the coolest thing is, you know what the best non-illusion would be is just to look internally, realize I'm insecure.
Mm-hmm. And be okay with that. Like,
And
work on that.
Yeah, work on that, because all of
You
us
have to accept that.
I almost want people to just like almost aspire for mediocrity, because everyone's wasting so much fucking time trying to be special.
Dude, I was thinking about that in the tank today, man.
Yeah?
Like, yeah, because like I've definitely have stepped back from like the party lifestyle. Life's a party,
Right?
And,
Can you
and
dig
just
it,
like,
man?
dude, oh man, like, because playing music since I was 14,
Oh,
like
yeah,
it was
dude.
like it's over half of
I
my life.
understand what
I've
you're
just
saying.
been living for
You've
the
been living the
moment,
party, dude,
and
for
just
sure.
I was party boy.
I was too until kids.
And now, like, it's like I am striving for like mediocrity, just like you know what I mean, like spending the weekend with the old lady and just like hanging out, like watching some TV.
Dude,
dang old man, like there was a time in my life where I was just like, if I was sitting
I'm
at
wasting
home
my life right
watching
now.
TV, I'd just be like, what am I doing with my life? But it's like now I strive for just like those moments where we're just hanging out. Like last night we listened to a couple records.
Yeah.
Threw on Flying Lotus
I love
and
it.
then John Coltrane, just hanging out.
There
man.
is
like
something dangerous, even from partying's easy, but also the thing, like you look at people's Instagram, you're like, well, I should be fucking climbing a mountain in fucking Fuji right now. I'm wasting my life and my existence. Like, shut the fuck up,
Right.
man. Stop it. Just
Stop
be
comparing.
good now. Like
Yeah.
you've said it 100 times.
be here now.
Be here now, man. You literally have the fucking cosmos in your brain. I should say a brain, but just in your being. Your consciousness is untethered from it all. Learn how to play in that motherfucker. You'll be climbing mountains all day.
Dude, yeah.
You know?
It's
And
fun.
then you
yeah,
can-
I'm a big fan of just mediocrity now.
Yeah,
like
dude.
just stepping back and just spending, we'll just read a book.
Well, once
Read
we're
a
always
book.
kids, we're told we're
When's the last
special.
time you read a fucking book, man?
Like your mom or your dad says, you're so, like everyone thinks their kid's special. And then that kind of rubs off. And then all of a sudden you do feel like you need to own up to this thing. And then also on the flip side of that, and we've talked about this before, not special in the fact that you're better, but special in the fact that you're not as good. That's being special too.
Yeah.
You are just saying you're fucking
I am
special.
just the worst.
Yep. That's the same
That
thing.
makes me
It's the same
special.
thing as saying you're the best in the fact that now all you're doing is making yourself special. Don't be
Yeah.
fucking special.
Yeah, who cares about
Just be.
Stop that.
being special?
Knock that
Just
shit
See
off.
you.
Or
the next thing.
or try to be special and then realize I was trying to be special and try not to be special and try to be special and realize you're trying to be special and then just be mindful.
just
Because
let it
it's
go.
not like you're a piece of shit. I try to be special all the time,
So
but
I don't have to
I
have the
also
coolest
consistently
Instagram.
realize-
Like some of my favorite Instagrams are just like random shit. Just
Yeah.
just a black and white picture of just out the window. Like I'm at the office. Like just another day. Like my buddy works for the state here in Lincoln, and yeah.
Talking
just
about Holden?
No. His name's Justin, and he
Yeah.
plays in several bands: Her Flyway Manor, Dirty Talker, Thunderstandable, old school.
Understandable. That's awesome.
Yeah, and he'll just take these just random black and white pictures of just around the office, just like
I
this,
love
like
it.
a fan. I'm just like, this is great. This is like my favorite Instagram. I don't care to see you in Cabo Wabo doing headstands and shit. I don't, or like whatever.
right. And there's
I don't-
also nothing wrong with it.
Great. That's
just
cool.
why are you doing it?
That's cool. Yeah.
Why are you
right?
taking the picture of the fan? Why are you doing the headstands and Cabo Wall? Why are you doing anything? Just back to that,
It's like,
harping on
and
that point.
and me getting off of Instagram,
Yeah, there's
putting the
that.
record on and just
Yeah.
chilling, man, that's way better. Just
Yeah, being aesthetic
mediocrity.
is the
Just
best,
Being
man.
just a normal dude, just hanging out.
I think that's where the superpower comes from, though. So the only way you get that label maker, and then you garnish it with some tangibles of panoramic views, is if you aren't able to become abstinent, to remove yourself from all society, because that's where you build that. Like all that self-awareness and everything else, the only way to do that is to not be doing everything else.
What do you think monks do with the?
Yeah, you can't be reading fucking news all day and simultaneously like, I'm going to be mindful. Or you really have to become aesthetic in a way and go into a flow taker, go meditate or go do yoga or whatever, and remove yourself from society. That's the best way that you're going to achieve the $5 you need to go buy a label maker. I don't know.
But yeah, it's definitely a balance of being mindful of why you're doing those things.
I think that's all it is. Do whatever you want. Don't worry about us, because it sounds like we're judging people, but the whole point is we're not judging you. It's just like, why are you doing it?
I've judged myself.
No, we are three actual idiots. So
yeah, 100%. I'm an expert in nothing, man, and I just want to
talk about it out loud. That's why we do this podcast. And the hilarious thing is like, so why do you put yourself on this thing and then expresses the world as you know it? No. The coolest thing about a podcast is it forces you to sit here and have a fucking hour-long conversation that you wouldn't do otherwise.
I was thinking about that a little bit ago. I was
like, the only reason we do this.
I usually don't get to, but I used to have these conversations with my friends.
I never do anymore, man.
All the time. And I just don't do it anymore.
You get busy and you don't have time. And this is almost like we have almost duped ourselves into thinking like, oh, you're doing something productive. You're playing the game too. Oh, we're good. Okay, everything's secure. We can sit down and do nothing for an hour and pretend we're doing something. Dude, all I'm doing is carving out an hour of my day to have a conversation and verbally work on ideas.
Yeah, it's the verbal diarrhea becomes solid. Over the course of a podcast.
It smells pretty bad, I know, and some days are worse than others. Yeah,
if we're
Sunday
pissing
nights
you off while you're listening to this, go do some yoga.
Yeah, go
meditate. I don't know, man. Like, a lot of this is just from my own experience. Like, because I've caught myself. Yeah. I'm sick of my own bullshit, and so I'm just if I'm saying something that's resonating with you, it was because it was resonating with me, and I'm talking mostly about myself. How much I shit on myself more than anybody else does.
Yeah, there's nothing like we're pretty self-deprecating, I guess.
Yeah,
that's a beauty in that.
Yeah, because what else do you have to draw from besides your own experience anyway?
You don't. Yeah, I don't know, man, but I love sitting down once a week and just having conversations like this, and I think if we don't make ourselves vulnerable, if we don't say things out loud that immediately might be like, wait, no, maybe that wouldn't be right. We understand there's subtleties and nuances to everything, and there's no one answer to anything. But it's still cool to just bring up different points of view. You could take almost anything and break it down and flip it on its head. Yeah, that's the whole point.
That's the art of philosophy, man.
It's just fucking fun to examine your existence. And at certain times you might be doing yoga, at other times you might be doing something else. But in that moment, just go ahead and have a conversation with a friend about it. And a podcast is a great place to do that because this is all I'm doing right now. Mm-hmm. When I'm talking to you normally, right? Like we're working, we're doing this, I'm worried about that. I have a text message I should probably get back to, my wife's wondering where I am, whatever it is. You don't.
It's pretty fragmented.
Everything is, right? That's the whole point. So if you designate time to sit down and just have long-form open discussion about nonsense, I think it's one of the things that's missing in the world that we used to probably do a little bit more before we were so just instantly like, you want this in 5 minutes, you want this in 2 minutes, you want this in 3 minutes. But I think the truth is we've always liked things to be, we've always had an attention span. Just entertainment industries or whatever determined one day we didn't. But I don't think it's true.
Oh, man.
I'll sit through some fucking long things just to feel like I connect to another human being.
Yeah.
And if I was listening to Luke, like when he's talking about things, sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, dude, I want to hear more about that. Or like, what are your vulnerabilities, Luke? Like, what's the thing? Like, if for somebody who wants to be,
I don't have any vulnerabilities.
He's vulnerable. But here's a good thing too. Like for somebody who would want to become a yoga instructor or thinking about it, and what are some of the feelings? Or here's a question I want to start asking guests. What are some of the trials, tribulations, adversities, failures that helped you get to where you are now? Right? To feel like you have some competence because you didn't just have that.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, because I don't know, man. Because I got taught by a lot of instructors who would have like an outline of what they want to do, like class-wise next to them, and then they'd spend a lot of time planning things. So I don't know if this exactly answers your question, but I decided when I first started that I wasn't ever going to plan anything.
Okay.
I was just going to look into the room and then ask people what they wanted, what they needed, and then see if I don't get an answer to that, which I usually don't.
I was going to say, be the one asshole. Like, I would like to do hip work today. Fuck all you guys.
Yes, I actually love that one asshole. Then I'm like, yes, I can.
That's such a good point to say that. Yeah, be that asshole, apparently.
I could then
Nobody else
get
is
some guidance in what I should do with my class and feel
awesome,
like
actually.
I'm more directed towards what people are wanting. Otherwise, I kind of have to read the room and then offer modifications based on what skill levels I see, unless I've had the student in the same class for a lot of times. And that's the challenge, is like free-form teaching a class and flowing through it so that it seems coherent.
Okay.
while also trying to give that whole group of people in front of you like what they came to that class for.
Right.
So that's the challenge, but it's also like one of the most rewarding parts.
So it almost seems like you kind of have some formulation of like, I've designed this class to assume that most people are going to come thinking it's A, but as long as I cover A, we can do anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much.
Okay. So be that guy in Luke's class, man. Like
real.
be the guy who comes out and says you want to work on something. I'm never that guy. Jesse, afraid.
I would totally be that guy.
Yes. Most people in my classes are like, "You're the instructor. We'll do whatever you want." I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm
always the guy that never
Kind of sounds like you're like a jazz musician for yoga instruction.
that's kind of
Just,
right.
Like
Pretty cool.
improvising. Like
That is
I'm just gonna have a
pretty
C
much-
note here.
I got a
and-
chord,
Yeah.
structure, but we can go inside or outside
That's
of these
nice.
notes.
I like that.
That's
Or if somebody
very
brings up a
accurate.
request back, that doesn't follow this at all. So, sir, you just stay there. Anybody else? Jesse, don't
Sir,
talk.
shut the fuck up. Get in your easy seat pose.
I thought this was like rectal strengthening yoga.
Wait, yeah,
I would like to work on my kegels, please. I got you, fam.
we're here. Let's do it. Everybody ready? Yep. Oh, think, concentrate, awareness, focus.
Squeeze.
It's just discomfort. Stop whining. That's not pain. You don't know pain.
Pucker up, buttercup.
So, where can people find you, man, if they want to follow you on social media or anything?
Well, I've got at Sweaty Samurai. That's
Sweaty
my
Samurai.
Instagram.
Nice.
And then I'm just regular old Luke Day on Facebook.
Nice, man. So you're into this independent contractor world now, though. So you're gonna start building your own thing, right?
Hell yeah, man.
So
I'm entrepreneurial in nature. I
Nice.
hate the idea of having a boss. And
I hear you.
just, yeah, I like to work and just get stuff done
Yeah.
myself.
Is Instagram the best way to get at you? Sweaty Samurai?
Yeah, that or Facebook, either
Okay.
one is
Do you
cool.
do you do private classes or anything if anybody's looking for a good instructor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I do private classes, any kind of yoga style I can teach. Ashtanga, I suppose, is one that is more structured.
Okay.
And mine is more like that jazz like
So you
style
still
of
bring
just
in the
doing
flavor
whatever.
of Ashtanga, but you bring in the jazz ability for it.
A little bit, yeah, because
Okay.
I wouldn't call myself an Ashtanga teacher at all,
Okay.
because that's kind of like one of the types of yoga that's way more structured.
Right,
you
like
do
face
this
a certain
series of
direction,
poses,
all
and
this
then
other
your
stuff.
instructor's going to tell you when you can move on to the next pose,
Okay.
and that sort of thing.
Okay.
And I'm more like freestyle yoga.
I really
Freestyle.
like that, dude. Friday's class was
Freestyle.
awesome. I will be at
Dope.
next Friday's class, by the way.
Dope.
Like,
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm
I'm
a
Power
glad you
big
guys
yoga.
like
fan of
that.
that class. Plus, it starts off the weekend so nice.
oh yeah, dude.
Right.
Oh man, yeah. Power yoga Fridays at 5:30. It's also Mondays at 5:30.
Yes.
And then you do a lukewarm class, right?
Exactly. Yep. Well, they're all
is that?
lukewarm, but this one is 10 o'clock on Saturdays, and then I also teach another class, a morning class before that at 8:45.
Nice,
cool.
man. And that's all at Lost and Float. And because we're not haters, you got classes going on anywhere else?
Yeah, I've got Genesis too.
Okay.
That's my other yoga haunt.
What day and time you doing that?
I do a noon. That's a nice little lunch hour class on Tuesdays from
Okay.
noon to 12:45.
Is this Genesis South or
O Street, the
O
north
Street?
one.
Okay.
Yep. So I'll sub down at the Racket Club, but Genesis is where I am found most of the time, and I do a Saturday class there too.
Okay.
So Saturday at 10 o'clock, Tuesday at noon, and then I'll be picking up 2 more classes there in December where I'm teaching in the evening at 6:30 on
Nice.
Tuesdays and Thursdays.
So if you want to do Genesis and also get some awesome yoga with Luke, lukewarm Luke, go down there. If you don't want to go to Genesis, just come to Lost and Float. And the more people that show up to
Yes.
Luke's class, he will teach here more. That's the way it works with an independent contractor.
That is true. Yep. And it's awesome here. I love the space.
Thank you.
Like it's different. Gym yoga and studio yoga are different.
Okay.
So if you're used to gym yoga, it's an awesome thing if you have a good instructor.
Mm-hmm.
But studio yoga is something else. So like if you like gym yoga, you'll love studio yoga.
Okay. Cool. See, that's cool distinctions that we don't even know, man.
Right?
God, who owns this fucking place?
I don't know. Are they here?
I know.
Can we talk shit?
Jerk.
Yeah. So my co-owning partner, my wife, she does yoga pretty much every day. Well, she was doing it almost twice a day until we moved, and now she's been a little preoccupied. But she almost does yoga every single day.
That's awesome.
Yeah. She was doing both morning classes every day for a while there.
Nuts.
And she's a stud.
Yeah,
So she's kind of the person who was sitting here or listening to this going, Jesus Christ, Levi, you can sell yoga if you wanted to, man. I like doing it. That's about as much as I know. I don't know where it stems from or anything else. And I got to admit, the reason I didn't do yoga so in the past was I had this misconception that, you know, all yoga is dogmatic and everything else, and I didn't want to be a part of that. I do like calisthenics and yoga mixed together. That's kind of my forte. I like to do mobility. I like to learn about my body positioning. I love to suffer, and I like to hurt physically. So
That's what
those
Friday's
are
class was all about. It was just making you suffer, man.
Those are my favorite classes. So we have it all here at Lost and Float too. You can do the yoga where, you know, it's not going to be physically demanding, or you could do the yoga where you can come in here and actually do some physical exertion and simultaneously do some yoga.
And it's accessible to everybody. Like even the hard power class,
Yeah.
like
It's
you
modifiable,
can come
right?
and do it, and it's modifiable. And sure, there's more advanced stuff, but it's also things you can work up to. So
And every yoga class I've ever done, really, and especially here, is almost every teacher is like, hey man, if you just want to sit in child's pose the whole time, feel free. Nobody's going to judge you. If you want to wear fucking sweatpants here, please do. Nobody's going to judge you. If you want to eat meat on a stick, please do. Nobody's going to judge you. You know, not during the class or whatever. You don't have to be a certain kind of person to come here. The only kind of person you have to be to come to Lost Float do yoga is just good to other people. Just be cool to people. Be excellent to each other. Bill and Ted it, and you're good to go. I do want to drop a little bit. We have Hannah Dema is going to be our featured artist for this month, and I think she's going to be here in like an hour to hang up her art.
that's cool.
So it's Monday right now. If you come in
can't
tomorrow,
wait.
yeah, you get to see some new art. And I looked up the stuff she sent and looked up her stuff on her website, and it's
She's pro.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
We
excited.
don't deserve to have,
you guys have
these
such good
artists
stuff
come into
here.
Lost and Float, man. We get so many cool artists, and they always feel like
That's
bad.
sick.
I'm like, what are you talking about? You guys are amazing. So Hannah will be here today to hang up her art. So hopefully, if it's not here today, you'll be able to see it this week. Also, Lost and Float's going to start doing some cool stuff with Yoga Studio where you're going to make it basically to where you can rent out the space. So if you are looking for some private instruction and you wanted to hire Luke can then go through Lost and Float and use that studio just for you guys. Or if you wanted to do a group of 5, 10, 15 people and just be you guys, we do that now too. So reach out to us. We'll be able to set that up. And if we'll set up a yoga instructor. But even if you just have a personal trainer that you guys are looking for a place to do something, Lost and Float Studio is going to be available. We're also going to put in some different things in there to make it more functionally fitness available as well. And those changes will be coming pretty soon. So we'll let you guys know when that happens.
I'm so stoked for that.
Anything from the band side?
Yeah. Actually,
Shit, I touched something. Damn it.
a band I'm in is playing this Thursday at Bodegas. So there's this
Oh, it's
band coming
Thursday.
through. They're called Pigeons Playing Ping Pong. They're pretty big on the jam group.
You're playing with
circus.
them?
I'm playing at an after party.
Okay,
Yeah. They're awesome. They're really, really good. And there's going to be a pretty big crowd for them at the Bourbon. And then so as soon as they get done, the group I'm playing with, Mr. McMoney, is hitting the stage
Nice.
right across the street at Bodegas.
Nice.
And that's actually this. I'm going to tease a song from Mr. McMoney here.
All right.
Yes.
And don't forget, it is still Thanksgiving. So if you're a member at Lost and Float or you want to be a member, you can bring any newbie for the rest of the month and they get a float for free.
You can bring your mashed potatoes and turkey legs in there too.
Just as long as it's a human being.
Yeah. If you're a member, bring in your buddy. If he's on the house, as long as he hasn't floated here before. This little ditty is just a tease from a song that we play called "Slow Starter." Goes like this. Cha cha cha.
Dude, my
Dope.
knee hurt the whole time.
Oh, my knee.
That was beautiful, Jesse Butterfield. Luke, thanks for coming on, brother.
Hey, thank
and
you guys. This is super fun.
come in and go to one of Luke's classes. Learn how to do the yoga. Bye-bye.
Bye.